Hello YouTube viewers, this is Mr. Math with a tutorial video on how to get the 15-minute speedrun achievement in Ittle Dew. What you're hearing now is not live commentary. It is scripted commentary recorded afterward because there is no way I could have done both the speedrun and the commentary at the same time. Ittle Dew is far from the toughest speedrun achievement in the world, but it's still pretty tricky and I needed to focus. Also, what you'll see in this video isn't the only way to get this achievement, it's just the method I chose. I'll be getting the ice wand first, then the fire sword, and then going to the end. But you can get this achievement with any pair of items gotten in any order. All you have to do is figure out the optimized path through the castle money rooms. No matter how you do this though, the start of any run is the same. Go through the tutorial cave, then go into the castle to get some money. In a speedrun, the tutorial cave should take you 25 seconds at most. If you have more than 25 seconds on the timer after you leave the tutorial cave, you were in there for too long. Also, along the path to the castle is, of course, the item shop. Don't go into the shop at this time, because that would be a few wasted seconds as you go in, then retrace your path by coming back out and getting back on the path to the castle. So, ignore the shop for now, just go straight to the castle. There are a few problems that can ruin your speedrun, but the worst by far is how most monsters wander randomly around their rooms. During my practice runs and failed attempts, this was by far what tripped me up the most. These Jenny frogs you've seen so far move slowly enough that they're very easy to dodge, so they give you only a tiny hint of how incredibly obnoxious this problem can get. Anyway, coming up is the first money room you will reach, no matter how you're playing the game. If you're getting the fire sword, you would step onto the warp point at this time and teleport to the store's backyard. Since I'm getting the ice wand, I need to get the other two reachable money rooms first. That means, to begin with, picking up the fire so I can kill the old man barring the door up here. You want to reach the second money room within about 1 minute 20 seconds. After that comes the first potential wandering monster trip up. These Jenny foxes take off an entire half heart with their attacks, so you can only take one hit at most. In fact, if the Jenny frogs earlier got any hits in, you might be too weak to take any damage here. How I got through this area unscathed is a mystery to me. Don't expect to be so lucky during your own attempt. At any rate, if you need a health refill, these bombable blocks are very likely to drop hearts. Keep an eye out for possible health refill stations along your path, because you don't have time to go out of your way hunting hearts. Also, make sure you have utterly mastered the block puzzles in your path, because you don't want to waste precious seconds figuring out how to get through them. Now, coming up is what I consider the first boss fight. The cactus-like Brutus isn't actually a boss, but this guy is a real threat at the start of the speedrun. He takes 10 hits to kill and can do a half heart of damage. And unlike a normal run, you can't take the time to run around evasively and get in the occasional sniping hit. You have to be aggressive and kill him fast. Fortunately, he doesn't move randomly, so his pattern is easy to predict. Also, he always drops hearts. If you can get through this fight with less than 2 minutes 20 seconds on the timer, you're doing great. Once again, have these block puzzles mastered. When I finish this particular block puzzle, I will have reached the third money room, and to me, the most important money room. I'll explain the importance later, but for now, I will finally have the 400 bucks I need to get the ice wand. After opening the chest, you can get onto the warp spot before the warp point spawns, saving you several seconds. And after a quick trip through the warp pad, I will be at the store, viewing the character intro scene, and mashing the button fast to buy the item. Once you have the item, you have to spend 10 seconds watching Ittle and Tipsy fly through the air. The timer doesn't stop during this animation, and you'll have to watch it again later. That's 20 seconds of dead time during which you can't do anything. There are approximately 15 more seconds of dead time during the final boss, robbing you of more than 30 seconds during your run. So make sure to use the rest of your time wisely, because every second counts. The Ice Wand dungeon is the most obnoxious part of this speedrun, because there are two spots in particular where random enemy movement can ruin your day. One spot is the dungeon boss, the Lichiest Turnip. The other area is the room with two flying block monsters, which comes fairly soon after gaining the Ice Wand. In the meantime though, all you have to contend with are pushing blocks, dousing torches, and dealing with those slow-moving ghost pirates. In this room, of course, you have to use this dancing turnip to activate one of the switches. I always send him off to the right side of the room to hit the switch over there because it's faster and safer than sending him left and crossing over to the right myself. And here is a block puzzle with multiple solutions. I strongly suggest using fire to break that block stuck in the corner to give yourself more room to maneuver. Beyond that, if you have a different solution than I do, that's fine. Just make sure you get through it fast. Once that's done, you want to ignore the ghost pirates in the next hallway, grab the fire from the torch, and then in the next room, light the bomb before you start pushing it. That saves a fair amount of time compared to pushing the bomb into place before lighting it. So, here's the ice wand. Use it to douse these torches fast, and then proceed upstairs. You need to douse the torches in this room also, but collect some fire from the final torch first. Now comes the room with the 2 flying block monsters. You want to go into the room with the fire you just collected and freeze and flame them fast. I was tripped up so often by destroying one of them, and then because the other one had flown to the other side of the room, I ran out of fire on my little stick before I could shatter it. I always just quit and restarted if that happened because I didn't want to spend that extra time to reload the room and go through the next area to get the fire there. So here's another block puzzle with multiple solutions. Once again, don't feel like you have to use my method. Once you're through it, it's pretty much a straight run to the boss room from here. Just avoid that ghost sheet. At the end of this hallway, use the ice wand to speed up hitting the 2 switches. Okay, I hate this boss fight. The Lichiest Turnip frequently spams his fire attack rather than the ice ball attack you need to reflect back at him. He also sometimes spends lots of time floating around the room doing nothing. You can improve the odds slightly by proactively icing up the walls, but nothing can get around the RNG that controls his moveset. I got very lucky with this fight this time around, but I spent a lot of my earlier attempts getting really pissed off at this guy. Keep in mind that when he uses his fire attack, it melts any iced up spots on the wall that it hits, so be very proactive in icing them back up. Beyond that, just hope you get lucky with how this guy uses his attacks. Again, I got very lucky this time, and I was able to beat him in slightly less than 40 seconds. But you can easily be stuck here twice or even 3 times that long. So now I'm taking the extra second to pick up the paper piece from the chest, because it refills my life meter. I'm going to do the same after the next boss fight, and those are the only 2 pieces of paper I will be getting during this run. There is simply not enough time to find more of them. Yes, this means I will be facing the final boss with a single heart. That's actually much easier than it sounds. My next task, obviously, is to get the 200 bucks I need for the fire sword. This is where that 3rd money room becomes important. Remember how I mentioned it earlier and said that I would explain later? Well, rather than walk all the way back through the castle, I will be going through the store, into the backyard, where I will warp directly back to that money room. From there, I will be conveniently placed to go directly to the next 2 money rooms. Using this route saves me about 5 seconds at the most, which doesn't sound like very much, but as I said earlier, every second counts. These next rooms are incredibly simple. This 1 block pushing puzzle is trivial with the ice wand, and the enemies wandering around are all generally slow enough to avoid. Feel free to freeze some of them in place if you need to keep them out of the way, but don't bother killing them because you don't have the time. Finally, open this door with the ice wand and claim your prize. You now have to traverse a very dangerous room. The Jenny Foxes and Jenny Berries can all do a half-heart of damage, and it is extremely difficult to avoid being hit at least once, what with how the berries spray their attacks around the room. If you manage to make it through alive and get to the next money room, you're home free. Because now you can go to the Fire Sword dungeon, which has only 1 minor luck-based part, and lots of possible heart refill stations. And now you have to watch the 10-second animation. Again. Okay, first things first. Go up through the door and claim the Fire Sword. Then, come back down to the first room and solve that block puzzle. This puzzle isn't difficult, but it does take a while because of how far that second block has to go to slide all the way around the room. Once the puzzle is solved, you can break the topmost block to try for a heart if you need to. And here's yet another complex block puzzle with multiple solutions. Solve it however you see fit. And then afterward, you can once again break the remaining ice block to try for a heart if you need to. Use the fire sword to set the old man on fire first before you try for that heart, since his death animation takes so long to complete. You can just ignore this old man, run by him into the next room and start solving these puzzles. They don't take very long, and as long as you keep moving, you can avoid the shots coming from the dudes in the minecarts. See what I mean? Even while slowly pushing that block, you'll still easily avoid the hazard. Now that you're back here, you can liberate that second ice block and use the both of them to douse the torches. Then, it's boss fight time! This boss fight is so much less infuriating than the last one. The Masked Ruby's moveset is much less random than the Lichiest Turnip. It's pretty easy to predict where Ruby will move when he will attack you. When you have the bomb available, push it underneath him and swing your sword at him madly. The sword duel will keep him motionless so that the bomb can do its thing. When these guys drop, however, things get a bit more random. You can't predict their movements, and your only choice is to slice them up fast. This time I was incredibly lucky that they all dropped hearts, pretty much guaranteeing my victory. Once they're all gone, the boss returns, and you just need to repeat the exact same tactics as before. And there you go, boss fight complete. Like the last fight, it took slightly less than 40 seconds. Unlike the last fight, you can get that time pretty dependably. As I said earlier, I picked up this piece of paper. I really shouldn't have though, since I was only picking them up to refill my life meter and I was already at full health. At this point though, I was running on pure muscle memory from all my practice runs, which is why I forgot that I didn't need it, so I wasted about 1 second, which is annoying, but not the end of the world. And then after going to all that trouble to ensure I was at full health, I ended up running into that guy and losing a bit of life. Also annoying, but quickly fixed. I'm going to kill a few more enemies just to make sure I get back to the castle at full health. Speaking of the castle, I will be doing the same thing as before. I am going through the shop into the backyard to teleport to that important money room again. It happens to be right underneath the fire and ice door that leads into the final boss area, which is incredibly convenient. Once I get there, I just go up the stairs, and I am right into the final area. And here we are. Interesting tidbit about the fire and ice area. It is possible to get through here really fast using the ice and portal wands. Even though the ice and portal back door is elsewhere, you can still get through here with that combination. You don't need the fire sword at all for this area. Because with the portal wand, you aren't limited to just that one pushable block in that first room. If you try the speedrun with the two wands, definitely see if going in this way is a time saver. I'm blazing through this room pretty fast. The Fire Sword and Ice Wand give you a lot of offensive power, because you can one-hit kill every common monster by freezing them and giving them a single swing of the sword. Even the cactus-like Brutus monsters are no problem now. Again, if you have the two wands, you can get this door open first, skipping entirely that room I just completed. Either way though, opening this door gets you to the final room prior to the boss fight. This room is incredibly busy. You have to kill a lot of monsters and douse all 6 torches. The job starts after you use the bomb to open the gate. Work your way up the room, killing the monsters as you encounter them, but focusing primarily on the torches. You need to douse them first, because one of the monsters you need to kill is the final old man in the game, who is hidden behind the gate the torches hold closed. Once the gate is open, set the old man on fire, and then clean up the rest of the monsters. Welcome to the final boss. I hope you've completed the game yourself before now, or else you just got a major spoiler. This guy is as annoyingly random as the litchiest turnip. The attacks he uses are always determined by which two items you have, so you can predict that easily. But you can never predict or control where the items he throws out will land in the room. On top of that, the room can get pretty crowded as he keeps throwing more items while you focus on attacking him. With the Fire Sword and Ice Wand, my task is to light bombs and send them his way. I got pretty lucky with the bomb placement a couple times, which was more than enough to make up for the times I got incredibly unlucky. In phases 2 and 3 of this fight, he remains on the far side of the room. At this point, the tactic is to light and freeze the bombs and then slide them across at him. You can see I am occasionally refreezing the bombs I've sent over to make sure he's close enough to them when they blow. The fact that I was standing right where that bomb was going to fall caused it to despawn. That was one of the incredibly unlucky bits I mentioned earlier. In the third phase, it can be really annoying to have to crush the blocks to free up the bomb. Limit yourself to destroying only those blocks you need out of the way to get at the bomb. Only if you have a bit of spare time should you start destroying the rest of the blocks. This is the phase of the fight where the battlefield can get really crowded with garbage, and as you've seen, bombs that land in an already occupied square are despawned. But if you're fast enough at freeing the bombs and sliding them across the gap, you don't need to worry about that. I refroze that bomb just now because I wasn't sure the boss was in its range. I figured better safe than sorry. It almost certainly would have taken longer to get another bomb across the gap than to simply wait for him to come back around into that bomb's blast radius. Anyway, there's the end of the fight, with a solid minute and a half left over. You need to have at least a minute to get from the boss room back down to the store, which is where you want to go now. I should have been able to get there in about 40 to 45 seconds, but I had some trouble, which I'll point out when we get to it. If you were paying attention, you noticed the dead time I mentioned a while back. At the start of the boss fight, the timer starts ticking up before you're able to start moving and attacking. And, just now, you had to wait for the chest to spawn, and then the staircase to spawn afterward. Once you're down the stairs, though, you should have little trouble making your way back out. You can go left or right from this room to exit the castle. I went right because I expected it would be faster. As you can see, though, I'm totally messing up the fight against these two Jennies. I should have had them both KO'd a lot faster than this. Still, with the amount of time I have left, that was plenty fast enough. Now that the Jennies are out of the way, I can just use the ice blocks to push these floor switches and open the door. The next room, as you can see, is a money room. Open the chest to activate the warp point, warp to the store's backyard, run inside, select the raft, and there you go! The speedrun finishes at 14:26, earning the achievement with 34 seconds to spare. So, that's the end of my speedrun. As I said earlier, you don't have to do the speedrun in this way. You can use whatever pair of items you want, as long as you're able to work out the optimized path through the castle's money rooms. Also, I'm pretty sure you can only do this with 2 items. I believe it's not possible to get all 3 items in less than 15 minutes. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a godlike Ittle Dew player out there who can manage that. Hey, if you're that godlike player, make a video of your 3-item speedrun and post it as a response video to mine. If it's possible, I really want to see it because I think that would be awesome. Anyway, once you've worked out your speedrun method and the optimized path, the next step is just lots of practice. And holy crud, did I spend a lot of time practicing this thing. I quickly lost count of how many times I tried this run, only to get burned by the enemies deciding to act too random, which ended with me getting KO'd or the puzzle in that room getting ruined. On rare occasions, I did it to myself when I did something stupid, like accidentally pushing a block the wrong way. It really did get frustrating at times. But I persevered, and now I have the achievement completed. And quite honestly, I think I'm not a particularly good gamer. If I managed it, so could anyone. Seriously, if you decide to do this achievement, just don't give up, no matter how frustrating it gets. It's complex and really tricky, and there are a surprising number of locations with annoyingly random monsters, considering that this is basically just a light that torch and move that block puzzle game. But ultimately, it's not very difficult. So, good luck to you, whichever method you decide to use. Well, that's about the end of the video. This has been Mr. Math showing a tutorial on getting the 15-minute speedrun achievement in Ittle Dew. Thanks for watching, YouTube viewers, and as it says on the screen, the end. See you next time.